pull out some yarn and start. Now, what I try to do is, if I know I'm going to use the same kind of yarn all the way through, I will strategically start in a place where I can begin and just keep rolling, where I don't have to keep cutting the yarn, but it is very simple, and I'll show you when I do that. But all you do is you follow the lines. So it's like tracing at this point. I think I mentioned that in my other video, where it's a lot like just tracing an outline. So that's where I start, and I think that's what I'll do. Is I'm going to outline her flower hair at first, and then I will come back and fill in. And what happens, I'm going to show you what's happening underneath here, is you're poking through the yarn, and as you do, it's coming through on the back. Okay, and it's you're sewing in a way, but you're attaching it to this felt by the action of poking the thread. Okay, and yes, that's all there is to it. Seriously. So the cool thing is you can do any kind of design you like. You can use any color you like. And so long as you choose fabric to felt on that is easy. The only times I've ever had trouble with this is when I have tried to, right now for a design thing, I've got mostly pink here, and I don't want to have two pinks right next to each other. So I'm going to choose to go across so that I don't have two pinks right next to each other. That's a design thing. Just going to throw that in. But the only times I've ever had trouble with this is, number one, if I try to use some kind of funky yarn. Okay, now that's a cool color. When I try to use a material other than felt or a sweater, I can sometimes run into trouble with the base fabric. But so long as I stick with that, and like I said, felt is really inexpensive, so you could get, even if you got a few remnant pieces or like, a quarter of a yard of felt, when it's on sale at the fabric store, you are going to have lots of felt to work with for very little money. Okay, now again, this is one of those design things, so I am going to show you, because this is a demonstration video. I don't want to have the same colors touching. So I'm going to cut that off. And all I do is just make sure that I tuck those ends in. And this is where it does take a little bit of extra time. But you can see just in this short period of time how far I've gone to make this. I mean, it's really, really fast. That's the cool thing. It's also relaxing. And it's rewarding because you're getting to be creative. Plus you get to make whatever it is you're doing very quickly. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that yellow off because I'll use it somewhere else. So I'm going to cut that off, and then I'm just going to, do I want to flip? Maybe I'll go with a blue. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. To help this feel balanced, I'm going to cut that part off, and I'm going to get down to this greeny color so that it feels more like the blue. This is the part that some people might say, well, I'm not comfortable with that. Then if that's the case, then choose a single color. Choose to do your outline in one color, like I did with my Goddess Girl. I mean, the whole thing I did was I just didn't even want to have to think about it when I did this. I just wanted something to do. And once I drew my design, I didn't have to worry about the color. All I did was put the yarn on there, and I was good to go. So anyway, I'm going to choose the green so that it helps to balance with the blue on the other side. And keep rolling. But you saw, that's simple. So even stopping and starting, it doesn't, you just work the ends in a little bit more, but not much more. And it doesn't require you to, you don't have to work it too hard, but you want to make sure that you you get it down completely, otherwise it can rip out. But I'm going to show you at the end what I do to secure it. Okay, so there is my base. Okay, and I'm going to cut that off. Don't want to go with that blue. I think I know what I'll do. I think I'm going to put, I'll put in the center, I'm going to put orange. Multicolored strands are fun to work with because you can either do it like I am, where it's willy-nilly and whatever color you get is what you get, or you can cut it where you want to strategically. Reuse your, you don't have to throw this away. Keep a little baggie and keep the excess. Use it for the next time. But it allows you to have color coordinated project without having to try to buy several different skeins of yarn to get it. So this is a good design. This is a good way to have design choice for very little money. Alright, so once that's done, next I'm going to fill in the flower petals. And I think what I'm going to do, I'm trying to see what other colors have I got. I've got, the only one I haven't used is orange. So I'm going to use orange to fill in the flower petals. Okay, so what I'm going to do is find my orange. I'm going to cut off some of my yarn so that I've got some orange to do the fill-in. And whoops, I lost that piece. Okay, and I'm not going to get crazy because, like I said, this does go a long way. So I'm not going to get too far ahead of myself. In order to get it to look even, I don't just go in a straight line generally, unless here, like I did here, I chose to do that when I got started, and then because it was a very thin yarn, I had to keep going with that so that it looked, I wasn't trying to fill it in with very thin yarn. So unless you're going to go with a line design like I did with the top part of her, you're going to want to just fill in without being in a straight line. And I'm going to show you what I mean, but basically what I'm doing initially is just getting it in there, and then I'm going to go back over it to make sure that I catch any of the areas that might have a bare spot. I mean, it's really, really simple. And then once I feel like I've got this petal complete, I'm going to cut that off and start on the next petal. Now you could just snake around over to it, because I'm not really sure. I may still do a little something in the center, but I haven't decided yet, so I don't want to commit myself to that at this point. So when you cut it off, you do have to tack that down a little bit more, and then I go back over it just to make sure that I've got it secure. Okay, so that's how we're looking so far. Alright, and I'm going to go all the way around, and I may speed this part up in the video, I'm not sure, but now I'm just going to fill in all the petals. And sometimes I'll do I love to do spirals. That works great with working with the yarn, and I'll show you that on these outside circles. But once you start, like right there, I did a spiral. I just automatically do them. That's the crazy thing. Because I didn't do a spiral over here, I want them all to be just random patterns. So just go over your spiral. I mean, this is a very forgiving project.